Hi there, my name is Cupcake, and in this video I want to share a unique approach to breakups that aims to transform a painful experience into an opportunity for growth and closure. Whether the breakup is mutual, amicable, messy, angry, or caused by ghosting or even abuse, this video will propose a ceremony designed to honor the past and illuminate the path forward, to find closure and become a better partner for future relationships. On a technical note, I created all the images, characters, and voices using artificial intelligence. In 2024, audiovisual AI is still in its infancy, so I hope you can look past the flaws, because even though this video is 100% made using AI, the message is 100% about being human and relating to each other as humans. This video will take you through some history, sociology, psychology, lots of good advice, and some trivia and humor about intimate relationships and breakups. And finally, it will explain how to plan and carry out a breakup ceremony, following the stories of 8 types of breakup. Now, before getting into the whys and hows, let me give you a preview of what a breakup ceremony can look like.
Knowing that you feel my pain and apologize for betraying my trust helps me let go of the rage and resentment I've been carrying. I can finally forgive you and get my closure.
I will always feel guilty and deeply ashamed for betraying you. Your forgiveness gives me some comfort. I wish you all the joy you deserve.
Thank you for having the wisdom to rescue our friendship.
Well, it was worth the try. I'm just glad we can still move back into our cozy friend zone.
This closure means a lot. It allows me to grieve, to cherish our good memories, to miss us with tenderness.
You deserved better. Thank you for this chance to make things right.
I'm not defined by what I endured, but by the courage it took to break free.
We're here to surround you with love and remind you that you're never alone.
Despite the challenges, I'm grateful for the memories we created. I will always remember you as my sexy, funny genius.
Thank you for always pushing for communication and clarity, even when it hurt.
You've been my rock and best friend for 8 wonderful years. While our futures lead us apart, I'm thankful for the love we've shared.
May your dream of motherhood come true very soon. I will always cherish our time together.
Thank you for seeing through my pain when I couldn't admit it.
When people disappear without a word, that reflects their struggles, not your worth.
Today, we honor love, acceptance, and the courage to be ourselves.
Mom, Dad, you've given me life twice, once in birth and again in accepting my truth.
Tonight, we celebrate your rebirth.
Those were just 8 examples of Sky Lantern breakup ceremonies. The breakups come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, deeply influenced by our personal history and by the shared history of humanity, by our personal psychology and the cultural norms around us. Breaking up is never just a private act between 2 people. It's a complex, deeply human experience that reflects so much more than the end of a relationship. In this video, we'll dive into many of these aspects, exploring how we got here, and more importantly, how we can do better. It will cover the history of marriage, divorce, modern relationships, modern breakups, healthy breakup methods, toxic breakups in the digital age, heartbreak, the importance of breakup skills, emotional intelligence, advice about breakup advice, why a ceremony, breakup stories, ceremony preparations, writing a breakup speech, personal reflections, and 8 wonderful, successful ceremonies. Here we go.
Breakups. They're a part of life, and they can be really hard. But what if there was a better way to say goodbye? In this video, we'll explore the history of relationships, the science of heartache, and introduce a powerful new tool for closure, the Sky Lantern Breakup Ceremony. Get ready to transform your view on endings and new beginnings.
Many concepts presented in this video are speculative, subjective, intended to encourage thought and discussion. Take it all with a grain of salt.
To understand why we need a new approach to breakups, let's take a quick look at the history of relationships.
So when did humans start getting all formal about relationships? Of course, the full picture is extremely complex, but here's a quick summary. From farm to freedom, the evolution of marriage and breakups.
About 10,000 years ago, humans stopped wandering and started farming. Agriculture meant that owning land became crucial for survival, and this dramatically changed how people viewed children and relationships.
Children became extremely valuable. They weren't just family members, they were farm workers, retirement plans, and heirs to family property.
My land, my children, my legacy. It's all about survival.
That's when monogamy became more common, because it helped ensure clear paternity, which was essential for passing down land and property to descendants.
Monogamy existed before farming, but it wasn't the dominant relationship model. Agriculture changed that, and monogamous marriage became the glue that held this new system together. It sorted out who owned what property, who would inherit it, and how labor would be organized.
Monogamous marriage was so vital to societies that all other relationships were illegal. That's why throughout history, sex outside marriage was taboo. In some places, it could get you branded in the face with an F for fornication, and it can still get you flogged in some countries. These same historical reasons explain the violent taboo against homosexuality and same-sex unions.
Most marriages were arranged, meaning that families or community leaders chose who would marry whom. Marriage was too socially important to leave to two young kids in love.
Arranged marriages provided economic security, family legacy, and social standing by continuing the bloodline and inheritance, and maintaining or elevating social status, conflict resolution by making peace between rival families or tribes, fulfilling religious duties and preserving racial, ethnic, and caste purity, family honor by avoiding potential scandal, in cases of homosexuality, for example.
Sometimes arranged marriages got pretty extreme. In parts of China and South Sudan, they had this thing called ghost marriages. Women would be forced to marry dead men they'd never met, to keep the guy's spirit happy, or to have kids for his family, fathered by the guy's brother. China only banned them in 1949, and South Sudan still has them in 2024.
And what about breaking up? Well, agrarian societies couldn't afford to have people splitting up whenever they felt like it. Two people breaking up was seen as a threat to the entire community. So for 10,000 years, every culture in the world made it extremely difficult.
But there were times when a man, his family, his community, his religion, or social rules would impose a breakup. That's how divorce was invented, with the first recorded divorce laws appearing almost 4,000 years ago in Babylon. Divorce. The original breakup.
The most common reasons were the failure to produce a child or adultery, especially if there were illegitimate children, the breaking of religious rules, or disputes between families or tribes.
Divorce has a long and sad history. Let me start with a true and funny story with a little time travel.
The Molasses Divorce, a true story. In 1935, a woman in Ohio filed for divorce because she was tired of her husband's eating habits.
Your Honor, all he eats, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, are molasses sandwiches. I can't take it anymore.
Of course, it's a comical situation, but this case represents a symbolic step in the long history of divorce.
Divorce has certainly changed since my days.
In Ohio, in 1935, a woman had the right to ask for permission to divorce for a purely personal reason.
How is she even allowed to ask for a divorce?
This woman was affirming a right that used to be very rare. From ancient Rome to imperial China, women's primary role was producing children and family alliances. Societies considered this function so crucial that granting women the right to ask for a divorce was seen as too risky. Today, countries with higher rates of female education and employment tend to have higher divorce rates. Educated women with their own money have a lower tolerance for bullshit or molasses in their marriages. Divorce rates are affected by many factors, and they tell stories about cultures. For example, in India, in 2023, where over 80% of marriages were arranged or semi-arranged, the divorce rate was 1.5%. Does that really mean 98.5% of marriages were happy?
They should have dated before getting married.
By 2024, about half of all humans have meaningful access to divorce. Meaningful access means it's not just legally allowed, but also practically achievable without facing harsh social, economic, or cultural consequences. But it's been a long and difficult progress. Even in Western countries, divorce is a relatively recent development, with the island only legalizing it in 1997. In 1935, in Ohio, a woman convinced a judge that too much molasses was a valid reason for divorce.
Infertility or adultery makes sense, but molasses?
This was a huge step for freedom of choice, and by 2020, this path finally achieved what's known as no-fault divorce, which allowed couples to separate without needing permission from a religious or legal authority.
Why are they even asking for permission to divorce?
Historically, women who abandoned marriages without permission risked losing their children, financial ruin, social disgrace, religious punishment, and of course, they couldn't remarry. Even in 2024, citizens of Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Muslims in India must go through a religious authority to obtain a legal divorce.
Guess what I'm layering underneath?
But humans are creative, and they have always found ways around the rules. Alternative breakup solutions. Because of this prohibition, breakups could take disturbing forms. Powerless and trapped for social and economic reasons, women had very few options. Men who wanted a way out of a marriage could get rid of their wives by forcing them into convents, declaring them legally insane, or even accusing them of witchcraft. Sadly, this still happens in parts of Africa. Less dramatic, but still disturbing, is what could happen to a woman in 19th century England, where there were cases of men selling their wives at the local market. And the last reported wife sale happened in 1913. The price was the equivalent of $100 today.
From trapped to empowered. Love in the age of choice. For 10,000 years, this whole system of arranged marriages and crazy breakups got tangled up with religion, laws, and social norms. Even today, about half the people in the world don't get to choose who they marry, and a quarter can't easily separate if they want to. But here's the good news. As humanity progresses, the reasons for arranged marriages are slowly disappearing.
Farming technology, economic independence, changing cultural norms, the declining influence of religion, and an emphasis on individual rights are changing how people choose partners. Today, half the world's adults are in relationships they actually chose based on personal compatibility and emotional fulfillment.
This freedom brings a lot of good stuff, like emotional connection, and supports more equality and better mental health. People can build partnerships based on love, respect, and shared values.
To better understand modern breakups, let's look at what we mean by modern relationships. It begins with a spark of magnetic curiosity. Two people connect, sharing stories and aspirations. They choose each other freely as equals. Intimacy of bodies and emotions is exclusive. Trust deepens, masks melt away. They become vulnerable, accepting their imperfections. They face life's challenges, making decisions together. They support each other's growth. And then joy and sorrow, you and me, becomes we.
From we to free, breakups in the age of choice.
The concept of breakup, as we understand it today, became socially recognized in the 1970s, when more freedom in relationships emerged from the sexual liberation and feminist movements, particularly in Western societies. With this came more freedom to end relationships without needing the approval of society, family, or religious figures. Considering how difficult it is to build and maintain a healthy and rewarding relationship, the freedom to break up gives us valuable opportunities to explore, learn, and increase our chances of finding a love that lasts.
There is a lesson in every breakup if we can figure out why it happened. They all offer hints of how we can do better next time. Some breakup reasons have always existed, but were hidden by oppressive social norms. Others are new, reflecting modern societal issues. Let's look at a few of them.
Sometimes even healthy, supportive relationships must end. Different desires about marriage or children, a career opportunity in another country, personal growth choices, or changing priorities are just some of the practical realities or diverging life paths that separate people despite their strong, healthy emotional bond. Then there are the more common and very human reasons.
Modern relationship killers. When love fails for all the wrong reasons. Two people meet. It begins with excitement and high expectations. They keep their true selves hidden, fearing judgment and rejection. Communication is not honest and open. Vulnerability is avoided. Trust is prevented by insecurities, jealousy, and past wounds. They feel unequal or misunderstood. Passion fades. Routine becomes a prison of unfulfilled needs. Unresolved conflicts and resentment accumulate. Unmet expectations and unfulfilled needs create distance. Unresolved personal struggles limit everything. They face life's challenges alone, making unilateral decisions. When things go wrong, they blame each other. Individual growth is stifled by compromise and resentment. External pressures mount, finances strain, families interfere. They ignore diverging values and goals.
Then there are the betrayals of trust, like infidelity or lying. The decision between breaking up or having a discussion to potentially work through a betrayal is highly personal and depends on the specific circumstances of the relationship.
Of course, the most serious reason of all is emotional and physical abuse, also known as intimate partner violence. Globally, over a third of all murders of women are committed by intimate partners. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have faced intimate partner violence. It's impossible to estimate how often this results in divorces and breakups. Far too many people stay because of fear, culture, religion, financial dependence, emotional attachment, and lack of support. Legal and social support to leave abusive relationships is available only to about a third of the world's population, so a lot more progress is desperately needed. Fortunately, society is evolving. One example is a campaign launched in 2015 urging people to show solidarity by painting their ring fingernail purple. This visual pledge raises awareness and supports survivors, a particularly powerful symbol when done by men, who don't typically paint their nails. We've looked at why people break up. Now let's look at how they do it. Breaking good. The evolution of modern breakups.
In countries where individuals freely choose their partners and have easy access to divorce and breakups, about a third of relationships end amicably. The trend toward amicable breakups is even stronger for younger generations, who are used to diverse types of relationships and value open communication and emotional well-being. However, individual experiences vary widely. Cultural backgrounds, relationship dynamics, and personal values result in a wide range of outcomes.
Let's start by looking at the aspirational ideal of the amicable breakup. Welcome to the Imaginary Breakup Cafe, the ideal place to have the talk.
First and foremost, always do the actual breakup in person. I know it's tough. I know it's tempting to just send a text or an email, but trust me, doing it face-to-face is the respectful thing to do.
It honors the relationship you had and the person you once cared deeply about, and it helps everyone get healthy closure.
Be clear about why you're ending things, but be kind too. This isn't the time for brutal honesty.
Focus on I statements rather than accusations. Something like, I feel we've grown in different directions is better than, you never support me.
One phrase sums it up perfectly. It's not you, it's us.
And remember the golden rule when breaking up: treat the other person how you'd want to be treated if the roles were reversed. Remember, how you treat someone at their most vulnerable says a whole lot about you.
Acknowledge each other's feelings. It's okay to be sad, angry, or relieved. These are all valid emotions. Give space for both of you to express how you're feeling without judgment.
If you're going to run into each other in the future, maybe because you work together or have mutual friends, talk about how you'll handle that in a considerate way. Maybe you agree to be polite but distant at social gatherings, or to give each other a heads up if you're bringing a new partner to a mutual friend's event. Having a plan will reduce anxiety and awkwardness down the line.
Set some boundaries for communication after the breakup. Maybe you agree to no contact for a while to help you both heal, or perhaps you decide it's perfectly okay to check in via text once in a while.
Agreeing on clear boundaries can prevent misunderstandings and help both parties move on. But sometimes the circumstances are too extreme to separate amicably. In case of physical or extreme psychological abuse, prioritize safety. Unlike amicable breakups, there's no room for compromise. Ensure immediate protection and involve professionals. When faced with infidelity or betrayal, if you decide it's time to break up, communicate this decision calmly yet firmly, allowing space for a sincere apology to aid mutual closure. Establish clear boundaries and seek support. These steps preserve your mental health and prevent escalating conflicts. Then there are situations where nobody has done anything unforgivable, but love is emotion, and overwhelming emotion can't always be handled rationally. Non-amicable breakups can be explosive, raw, and painfully public or private, from restaurant meltdowns to heated home confrontations. These face-to-face endings expose raw emotions, long-held resentments, and the messy reality of relationships falling apart. With time and effort, these breakups can sometimes become amicable, but navigating the path to peace is challenging. Now, let's explore the evolution of breakups. Swipe left on love. Toxic breakups in the digital age. In our age, easy communication and big city anonymity have changed the way people connect and how they disconnect. Modern breakup methods like ghosting, blocking, and fading have become increasingly common, each representing a different shade of avoidance. It's like using a simple swipe left to end a complex relationship. Fading involves gradually reducing contact until the relationship quietly dissolves. While both parties may sometimes be fine with fading, it can also lead to feelings of abandonment and confusion. Ghosting is the abrupt cessation of all communication without explanation, leaving the other person in a void of uncertainty. This often causes emotional distress and makes it hard to trust in the future. And in the age of social media, every post and picture of an ex can feel like a knife to the heart. Blocking cuts off all digital ties, often without warning. While necessary in cases of abuse or harassment, it's often misused to avoid uncomfortable conversations, express anger, or assert a sense of control. Everyone has the right to set boundaries, but doing so without discussion is less effective and more harmful. All these methods stem from an inability to confront difficult emotions or engage in honest conversations. Avoiding one's own feelings unfairly shifts the pain onto others, depriving both parties of closure and leaving lingering questions and unresolved emotions. Ultimately, navigating a breakup should balance self-care with respect for the other person's emotional well-being, because a messy breakup has lasting consequences.
Messy breakups, and the stains they leave.
When a breakup is amicable, the pain often stems from a sense of loss and sadness over what was shared. The separation hurts, but it's accompanied by mutual respect and an ability to look back on the relationship with fondness.
However, when a breakup is fueled by conflict or lack of communication, the suffering will be deep and challenging for one or both people, with feelings of rejection and abandonment,
Anger and resentment,
fear and confusion,
guilt and shame,
jealousy and despair. Such feelings are harder to process, making it difficult to move on or feel closure.
To complicate things, breakups can trigger deeply personal feelings not related to the present situation, but rooted in our past, like childhood dynamics or personal trauma, revealing old wounds and insecurities. But really, is there any point in trying to understand all these messy emotions? Aren't we just overcomplicating our lives? And pain is just pain, isn't it?
Well, it would be like telling an Inuit that snow is just snow. The Inuit languages allow them to describe snow and ice in very detailed ways, which is vital for life in the Arctic. Similarly, modern breakups are a new environment for humans, and we are quickly inventing a whole new language to help us navigate it. Here are a few examples worth researching. Attachment styles, post-breakup grief, attachment trauma, rumination, closure conversation, no contact rule, and my favorites. Exaholic, someone who is addicted to thinking about their ex-partner. Relationship recycling, repeatedly breaking up and getting back with the same person. Dumper's remorse, regret experienced by the person who initiated the breakup.
As our understanding of feelings and relationships grows, so does our ability to navigate the complex emotions of modern heartbreak, offering new ways to heal and move forward. But of course, sometimes simple words are just not enough to describe the depth of our feelings. After all, a breaking heart is the loudest silence you will ever hear. And for centuries, we have filled that silence with music. the universal language of the soul. Through melodies and lyrics, we find solace, relief, and healing.
And in the quiet, you hear my heart break. In that silence, my soul aches.
In the face of heartache, humans have come up with strange remedies. In medieval Europe, lovesickness was considered a genuine medical condition, with symptoms like anxiety, obsession, insomnia, or loss of appetite. The remedy? Blood-sucking leeches applied near the heart or temples.
And what about healing from a truly bad ex? Welcome to the world of Japanese breakup shrines, or enkiri. These sacred places promise to rid you of the bad energy left behind by a truly bad ex, to cut ties and find closure without reconciliation. It's like a spiritual restraining order mixed with a personal cleansing ritual. You just buy a paper katashiro charm and write down your wish. While holding the paper charm in your hand, crawl through the stone while reciting your wish. Crawl from front to back if you want a new relationship, and from back to front if you want to move on. Finally, stick your paper charm to the stone, and you're done.
Heartbreak wisdom, responsibilities and skills. Unfortunately, there is no magical or medical remedy to heartbreak. But casual dating has only been with us for 50 years, so it's not that surprising that we still haven't figured out how to make breakups less painful or awkward. But it's a challenge that definitely deserves our best efforts.
Unlike arranged marriages, when we freely choose our partner, we open our heart, we become vulnerable, we support each other emotionally. It's like making an unspoken promise to truly care about each other's feelings. And that promise becomes most crucial when we're at our most vulnerable, especially when it's time to say goodbye.
The importance of breakup skills. In our complex modern world, where we might have multiple significant relationships over our lifetime, learning to break up well isn't just nice, it's necessary. Because ending relationships without proper closure is like hastily stuffing more items into an already overpacked suitcase. It only adds weight to our emotional baggage, forcing our next partner to bear the burden of our unresolved past.
So what are the skills we need to navigate a breakup with grace? The short answer is the ancient wisdom of the Golden Rule and its modern evolution, emotional intelligence. The Golden Rule, treat others as you would like to be treated, offers a simple, universal ethical guideline promoting empathy. However, it oversimplifies these complex human interactions, neglecting individual freedoms, cultural diversity, and evolving societal norms.
To enable a modern application of the Golden Rule, modern ethics and psychology have inspired approaches like emotional intelligence.
Think of emotional intelligence like your brain and heart working together as partners. When they team up well, you get better at 4 important things.
First, you understand your own feelings better. That's self-awareness.
Second, you learn to handle those feelings instead of letting them control you. That's self-management.
Third, you become more tuned in to how others feel. That's social awareness.
And finally, you get better at connecting with people and working through problems together. That's relationship management.
All of this helps you treat others the way they'd like to be treated, which is really what the Golden Rule is all about.
Applying the Golden Rule and emotional intelligence to breakups means resisting the urge to lash out, manipulate, or seek revenge, even if it feels justified. Instead, communicate honestly but kindly, acknowledging all feelings as valid, even if you disagree. This approach minimizes pain, preserves dignity, and allows for closure with respect.
Now, can you imagine what relationships were like before sex education became freely available? Swedish schools introduced it in the 1950s with obvious benefits, and now various forms of emotional intelligence courses are being taught in many schools around the world. Just like young people understand sex better than their ancestors, there are finally children learning fundamental emotional and social skills in school.
And just in time. Some studies estimate that in countries where people choose their partners, 20 to 30% of suicides and attempted suicide include heartbreak as a triggering factor, especially among young people. Promoting emotional intelligence and healthy relationship skills from a young age is also crucial in preventing rejection violence, where individuals react violently to being dumped. This violence can manifest in emotional and physical forms, including threats, harassment, stalking, assault, or even homicide. More reasons people need to learn how to break up.
And just like pornography shouldn't be the only sex education tool, movies and memes shouldn't be the only breakup education tool. Dramatic breakup disasters entertain audiences by giving them intense emotions, and revenge memes are funny, but fortunately there are more and more media portrayals of respectful conclusions, teaching people important skills along the way.
However, even when you have the skills, it's not easy to stay calm and apply them during times of intense emotional stress. At times like these, the emotional support of friends is precious, and their advice can be helpful.
Some advice about receiving breakup advice. Just remember that the friend giving you advice might be biased. Ask yourself, have they been through something similar and handled it in a way you respect? Are they on good terms with their exes? Do they share your ethical values and aspirations? Does their advice fit you? Because advice is like underwear. It works best when it fits. The same goes for the ocean of advice you will find online, including this video. The challenge is to find the advice that fits who you are and who you want to be.
Advice about giving breakup advice. It's natural to want to help a friend by offering solutions, but sometimes the most supportive approach is to empower them to find their own answers. Active listening, where you focus on their feelings without judgment, creates a safe space for self-discovery. Try asking open-ended questions like, what's weighing heaviest on your heart right now? What options have you considered? How do they fit your values?
When a close friend experiences a painful breakup, the strong urge is to take sides. But consider this. Could you be the bridge to peace? Mediation is risky. You might compromise friendships or privacy. But if you're already giving advice, why not suggest a closure ceremony? It's a delicate balance, but friendship means promoting whatever is most healing. Advice for someone proposing a ceremony. Proposing such a ceremony isn't easy, and getting rejected is a real possibility. There are many legitimate reasons someone might decline. They may not feel emotionally ready to face such an intense experience. Some might feel too betrayed or hurt for forgiveness or reconciliation. The timing might not be right. Sometimes people need months or even years before they're ready for closure. Cultural beliefs or personal values might make them uncomfortable with the idea. Some people might be in denial about their feelings. Others might refuse as a way to maintain control or punish their ex, deliberately withholding closure to make the other person suffer. Others decline due to fear of vulnerability or shame, worried about appearing weak or being judged for participating in something unconventional by friends and family. But here's the key thing to remember. There is no such thing as a right to closure, only a right to privacy. Each person's healing journey is unique, and one person's need for closure doesn't obligate the other to participate. As usual, the Japanese have an interesting suggestion. Rikinshiki, or divorce ceremony, an idea that emerged in the early 2000s. It's a ritual where couples symbolically end their marriage in a peaceful, respectful manner. The ceremony honors the shared past and provides emotional closure.
California also contributed an interesting concept. Divorce parties are primarily celebrated by women who use these events to reclaim their independence and find closure. After a marriage ends, these ceremonies offer a supportive environment for healing, empowerment, and personal growth, allowing women to redefine their post-divorce identity and celebrate the start of a new chapter in life.
More recently, the marriage therapist Catherine Woodward Thomas coined the term conscious uncoupling, a mindful approach to ending a relationship focusing on respect and personal growth. It's typically guided by specialized therapists or relationship coaches. They guide couples through the emotional and practical aspects of separation, focusing on open communication, conflict resolution, and a positive post-divorce dynamic, especially when children are involved.
But what if there are no kids? No marriage, no shared real estate, no lawyers, no therapists? In this video, we want to propose an approach that can be helpful for all kinds of breakups, from friendly divorces and amicable separations to ugly breakups from cheating, ghosting, and abuse. But why a ceremony? Because ceremonies work, with benefits for society, and for individuals.
We have ceremonies for joyful life events like births, graduations, weddings, even job promotions. And there are ceremonies for sad events like funerals and wakes to honor the dead, celebrate their life, provide social support, and facilitate the grieving process. But a ceremony for closing a romantic relationship? I know it might sound a bit weird, but think about it. After a breakup, what do we often crave most? Closure, that elusive sense of completion that allows us to turn the page and move on.
Since every relationship and every breakup is different, every path to closure is different. However, there are some elements that always help to achieve closure, such as compassion, communication, gratitude, reconciliation, empowerment. This breakup ceremony aims to apply these elements, whether it's right after a breakup or 10 years later. It's never too late to celebrate, reconcile, or empower.
The structure and participants of the ceremony varies a little depending on the circumstances. It might just be two people amicably saying goodbye to their relationship, alone or with support friends. Or it might be two people reconciling after a difficult or angry breakup. Or someone supporting a friend who was ghosted. Or a group of friends supporting an abuse survivor. Or even a ceremony involving the families and friends of a couple bravely transcending obsolete social norms. Let's look at some scenarios to understand better how a ceremony can always help.
The breakup backstories. The force majeure breakup. Sue and Joe had shared 8 joyful years together, but when Sue longed for a child and Joe did not, they faced a heartbreaking choice. Their relationship had been fulfilling in every other way, yet they both agreed it was best to part ways. During their final breakup conversation, Sue suggested a lantern ceremony to grieve together, celebrate their past, and wish each other happiness in the future. Joe agreed. Joe and Sue's dilemma reflects the modern shift in relationship priorities, where personal fulfillment can supersede traditional expectations of marriage and childbearing. Societal changes are making incompatible life goals a valid reason for separation. Their compassionate farewell ceremony will honor and celebrate their love while affirming the value of their different life paths.
The mutual breakup. Akira and Imani were friends for 2 years before getting involved romantically. After 2 months of conflicts due to their different expectations of a romantic relationship, Akira finally suggested breaking up to preserve their friendship. Imani agreed that their friendship was too precious to lose and proposed a lantern ceremony to mark their return to being just friends. Akira and Imani's transition from friends to lovers and back illustrates the fluidity of modern relationships, a stark contrast to historical norms of rigid relationship categories. It reflects the psychological challenges of relationships in a time of increased social freedom. Their ceremony will reaffirm the strength and value of their friendship.
The amicable breakup. Michael and Caleb's 3-year relationship had grown strained, with Caleb becoming increasingly distant. Despite Michael's efforts to reconnect, the emotional chasm widened. Finally, seeking clarity, Michael proposed a lantern ceremony to honour their time together while acknowledging its end. With a bittersweet mix of sadness and relief, Caleb agreed. Michael and Caleb's situation reflects modern relationship complexities, free from historical constraints. Their emotional distance highlights challenges of maintaining intimacy amid individual freedom. The ambiguity they faced highlights the psychological toll of unclear relationship status in contemporary dating. Their lantern ceremony will provide a clear endpoint, allowing both to acknowledge their shared past and move forward independently.
The unskilled breakup.
Kayla and Chris's years of tumultuous on and off relationship ended abruptly when Chris, battling personal demons, cut ties via email and began to ignore her. Weeks of agonizing silence followed, with awkward encounters at social gatherings. Desperate for closure, Kayla shared her struggle with their mutual friend Nicole, who offered to act as mediator. She proposed a closure ceremony, which Chris readily agreed, revealing his own struggle with the abrupt ending. Both hoped this ritual would heal wounds and pave the way for peaceful future interactions. Their breakup exemplifies the complexities of modern relationship dissolution in the digital age. Their story highlights the psychological toll of abrupt digital breakups and the social awkwardness that follows in shared social circles. Nicole's active involvement as a mediator shows an approach that bridges the gap between impersonal digital communication and traditional face-to-face closure. The ceremony will offer them a chance to validate the positive memories, gain proper closure, and establish new boundaries for their shared social spaces.
The angry breakup. 6 months into their relationship, Mark learned that Kim had been unfaithful. Devastated by the betrayal, he quickly ended things. A year later, consumed with guilt, Kim reached out asking for a chance to apologize in person. She suggested a lantern ceremony, and Mark agreed, knowing that forgiving Kim would help him heal too. Apart from the enduring impact of jealousy and infidelity on relationships, Mark and Kim's situation also reflects the modern emphasis on trust and emotional fidelity. This contrasts with periods and cultures where economic or social factors were more important than personal betrayal. The scenario also highlights the growing emphasis on emotional accountability, where people are increasingly expected to take responsibility for their actions. Their reconciliation ceremony will offer a structured environment for Kim to apologize, and for Mark to work towards forgiveness.
The ghosting breakup. After a whirlwind month of dating, Eric suddenly vanished, leaving Nicole without any explanation. For 2 painful weeks, she struggled in silence, pretending to be fine, until her friend Taylor saw through the facade. Taylor suggested a lantern ceremony to acknowledge the hurt, release the pain, and move forward. Nicole, tired of pretending, finally accepted the idea with gratitude. Eric's ghosting exemplifies a modern phenomenon enabled by digital communication, highlighting the psychological impact of abrupt, unexplained endings in contemporary dating. Nicole's ceremony will provide a self-directed means for reclaiming her emotional well-being in the absence of mutual dialogue. Emotional intelligence and support are fundamental in this process, allowing for genuine healing and growth rather than mere denial or repression of feelings.
The abusive breakup. Amy endured years of abuse from Jay, until one night he put her in the hospital. Finally finding strength, she left him, got a restraining order, and began rebuilding her life. Witnessing her struggle and her strength, her friend Matthew suggested a lantern ceremony with all her friends to celebrate her empowerment and surround her with support. Overwhelmed and grateful, Amy accepted the gesture. Amy's escape from Jay's abuse represents a shift from historical norms, where domestic violence was often overlooked or accepted. Amy's friends proposing an empowerment ceremony highlighted the shift away from social indifference or disapproval, and her acceptance demonstrated a powerful move away from victim shame. This collective ritual will celebrate Amy's strength, affirm her support network, and symbolically mark her transition to safety and healing.
The arranged breakup. Isha and Amit's teenage marriage, arranged by their parents, was built on kindness but lacked fulfillment. When Isha discovered her true sexual identity, she bravely confessed to Amit and their families. After the initial shock subsided, Amit, showing remarkable understanding, facilitated their amicable divorce. He persuaded both families to participate in a lantern ceremony, celebrating not just a peaceful parting, but also a collective acceptance of Isha's journey towards self-discovery. Isha and Amit's story bridges traditional arranged marriages with modern concepts of individual identity and sexual orientation. Their amicable divorce reflects an evolving societal attitude towards personal fulfillment and authenticity in relationships.
Every breakup has its own story. These 8 examples just scratch the surface of how healing can unfold. 2 loving partners bravely separate despite their deep bond, honoring incompatible dreams of parenthood. Friends wisely preserve their precious connection by stepping back from romance. One partner finds the courage to initiate a needed end when distance grows too great. A caring mediator helps mend hearts after an abrupt goodbye. A betrayed partner discovers the freedom of forgiveness. A ghosting victim transforms pain into self-empowerment. An abuse survivor rises from darkness, celebrated by supportive friends. Most hopefully, a couple transcends cultural barriers when one partner reveals their true identity, embraced by understanding families who choose love over tradition. Now that the characters in our stories have accepted to hold a lantern ceremony, it's time for some preparation.
The facilitator. The first step in preparing the ceremony is choosing a facilitator. The role embodies the ceremony's transformative potential, not just coordinating logistics, but architecting a safe space for emotional closure. Typically, the person who proposes the ceremony asks a trusted friend to take on this responsibility. In some cases, they emerge naturally as the friend who suggested the ceremony or mediated the breakup.
Whether managing a small, intimate farewell or orchestrating a larger celebration of empowerment, their power lies not in special skills, but in their ability to hold space with dignity. Through their steady presence and practical coordination, they help create the conditions for whatever form of healing or transition the moment calls for.
The facilitator helps shape the ceremony's form, suggesting each partner invite a personal support friend to provide emotional grounding and support, or in some cases, gathering a small group of trusted friends.
In a way, this setup reminds me of old-fashioned duels. Two people facing each other, each with a trusted friend by their side. But instead of pistols at dawn, we've got emotional honesty and a floating lantern. I'd say that's a much better way to settle matters of the heart.
The facilitator also handles practicalities like helping to select the location, which needs to be outdoors since the ceremony involves releasing a sky lantern. Doing it at the end of the day or the weekend leaves time to recover emotionally, and doing it in the evening makes the lantern more impressive.
Writing your breakup ceremony speech. The participants now have the task of preparing a speech that they will share at the ceremony. For ghosting victims, writing a ceremony speech is about reclaiming self-worth after abandonment. For abuse survivors, it's a deeper journey of healing and safety. These ceremonies are for you and your support circle only. The person who hurt you doesn't need to be present or know about it. In your speech, you can acknowledge your journey, reclaim your power, and look towards your future. The facilitator might prepare a speech as well.
For amicable or messy breakups, writing your ceremony speech begins as a private journey of self-reflection. By preparing beforehand, you can process raw emotions like anger or despair, distilling them into what's truly important to say. The final speech becomes both a gift of closure to your former partner and a healing tool for yourself. Let's explore how to create this speech step by step.
These questions can be a useful guide in preparing your speech.
Gratitude. What quality did you first admire in them? What's one way they helped you grow? Which shared memory still makes you smile? What talent or strength of theirs deserves recognition?
Personal growth. What has this relationship taught you about yourself? How are you different now than when you met? What understanding have you gained through the challenges? What wisdom will you carry forward?
Present moment. If you initiated the breakup, what is your main reason for breaking up? If offering forgiveness, what are you ready to forgive? If asking for forgiveness, what do you sincerely regret doing?
Future wishes. What genuine hope do you hold for their future? What kind of peace are you wishing for both of you? How might your paths cross respectfully going forward?
And some tips: keep it under 2 minutes. Choose the responses that feel most healing. Share the speech with your support friend for feedback. Practice reading it aloud. Remember, honesty with kindness.
The most powerful speeches combine emotional truth with compassionate delivery. Your goal is closure that honors what was while creating space for what comes next. Optionally, compose something to write on the lantern itself. You can find this speech writing guide by following the link in the description.
While you're preparing your speech, take some time for private reflection. This part stays in your journal, not in the speech. Make a list of what didn't work in the relationship. Red flags, unmet needs, reasons for conflict. Then transform each into a lesson for the future.
For instance, if you felt put down in the relationship, write down that you want a partner who lifts you up and values you. Also reflect on your own mistakes and growth areas. This builds compassion for both yourself and your ex's shortcomings.
Keep these reflections private, but they'll help you speak sincerely in your speech about how the relationship taught you important lessons.
To complete the preparations, the ceremony facilitator makes sure everything is ready, that the participants have their speeches, that the date, time, and location are clear to everybody, and that someone is bringing a couple of sky lanterns, a pen, and a working lighter.
The facilitator also handles any suggestions, such as bringing background music or a tiny bottle of champagne. Finally, the facilitator might discuss and agree with the participants how to conclude the ceremony.
Depending on the circumstances, the participants might part ways accompanied by their support friend, or the whole group might leave together for a post-ceremony party.
That's all for the preparations. Time to see what the ceremony looks like.
Knowing that you feel my pain and apologize for betraying my trust helps me let go of the rage and resentment I've been carrying. I can finally forgive you and get my closure.
I will always feel guilty and deeply ashamed for betraying you. Your forgiveness gives me some comfort. I wish you all the joy you deserve.
Thank you for having the wisdom to rescue our friendship.
Well, it was worth the try. I'm just glad we can still move back into our cozy friend zone.
This closure means a lot. It allows me to grieve, to cherish our good memories, to miss us with tenderness.
You deserved better. Thank you for this chance to make things right.
I'm not defined by what I endured, but by the courage it took to break free.
We're here to surround you with love and remind you that you're never alone.
Despite the challenges, I'm grateful for the memories we created. I will always remember you as my sexy, funny genius.
Thank you for always pushing for communication and clarity, even when it hurt.
You've been my rock and best friend for 8 wonderful years. While our futures lead us apart, I'm thankful for the love we've shared.
May your dream of motherhood come true very soon. I will always cherish our time together.
Thank you for seeing through my pain when I couldn't admit it.
When people disappear without a word, that reflects their struggles, not your worth.
Today, we honor love, acceptance, and the courage to be ourselves.
Mom, Dad, you've given me life twice, once in birth and again in accepting my truth.
Tonight, we celebrate your rebirth.
By approaching breakups with care and intention, we transform one of life's
most challenging experiences into an opportunity for healing.
Just as our lanterns rise into the night sky,
carrying our words of gratitude and forgiveness, they light the way toward healthier relationships.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and that the next time you'll be going through a breakup, you'll remember that you have choices. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as a Sky Lantern ceremony. Any small, meaningful gesture can ensure that a sad breakup doesn't turn into a bad breakup. While researching this video, I discovered heartbreaking facts about relationship freedom. Every year, 12 million girls are married against their will, with over 650 million women suffering the consequences of child marriage. If you found any value in this video, please consider making a donation to an organization called Girls Not Brides, working hard to help end child marriage. The link is in the description. This video was posted automatically after my death from a terminal illness, so I can't reply to any comments or appreciate any likes, but I'll thank you from the afterlife if you share. All the images and words of this video are copyright free for anyone to use as they wish. Download link is in the description. This is my goodbye tribute of gratitude to my exes. My Italian upbringing taught me a lot about seduction and starting relationships, but nothing about ending them well. Researching this video forced me to acknowledge my mistakes, so this video is also an apology. I've lied, I've manipulated, I've faded away. I've done everything I could to avoid facing the difficult task of breaking up with integrity. And in spite of this, I've been lucky enough to stay friends with most of my exes. They taught me many of the lessons I've expressed here. Having an ex and being an ex means something profound. It means you once shared a connection so deep that two separate lives became beautifully intertwined. Those two people who fell in love don't exist anymore. Time has changed them. But for a while, two people looked into each other's eyes and saw something rare, something only they could understand. Those moments, those glances, the laughter, the kisses that seemed to make time stop, belonged only to them. Their love was like their inside jokes. It made no sense to anyone else. Yes, maybe it ended in betrayal. Maybe it faded into indifference. Maybe the pain still feels raw. But most of our exes are people we once loved deeply. People who loved us completely. That kind of connection is rare and precious in this vast universe. A small miracle worth honoring, even after the story ends. Like a melody that plays softly in the distance. Those memories whisper of a magic that once was. A fleeting eternity captured in a glance, in a touch, in a shared silence. That's the mysterious poetry of past love. A love that happened, like a dream, except it wasn't a dream. So, my dear friends, I'm here to tell you that a respectful breakup is like gently removing a beloved picture from a shattered frame. It preserved the picture, allowing us to cherish its beauty without the distraction of the broken glass.